So last time I had just gotten everything switched over to Hasql as the database library of choice for this little toy Haskell app that I'm building. And the author of Hasql reached out to me, Nikita Volkov, and we had a meeting and he walked me through his thinking on the best way to lay out, in his experience, the Hasql libraries. So he was telling me about some of the common pitfalls, and I wanted to incorporate his current thinking about how to organize the code that calls Postgres via Haskell and in a way that makes the app nice and maintainable. And if you're into the Haskell world, maybe things like composable, essentially trying to find the right abstractions, the right packaging so that things work nicely. The goal for this repo is to have a mono repo. I'm not sure that's going to scale in Git, but that's a detail for now. But it will have multiple microservices in the same repo, and each microservice might have their own databasey stuff. And so for that reason, it might look a little bit different having, I will have the database code as a subfolder of the app code, whereas perhaps if you had just a single app in your repo, you might have the database code and the app code as being sibling folders. Little stuff like that might be a little bit different. So what I think I'm going to do is this folder that I have called SQL, I think I'm going to just change it to DB. And I'll throw everything in here. And he had suggested, and I think this is totally reasonable, to have like a folder for migrations, which that did not create a folder. Let's try that again. And then I wonder if I can move all of these things to, yeah, okay, good. Great. Another thing I did that was off camera last week is I just took all of the multiple SQL test files I had and combined them into one. And so now we just have this SQL integration test. The basic gist of, or rather the high level view of what he was suggesting is that instead of peppering the SQL statements in with the code the way that I was doing, is just to have a separate folder for statements or operations. And then really the only quote unquote public API that you export is going to be the statements. And by public API, I mean, if you imagine that this is a project that multiple teams are working on, that the only thing that the non-database team needs to know about are the statements. And everything else, like the encoders or the parameters, can be hidden from the rest of the team. So let me open up the current version of SQL integration test. You'll see that I have module test. I don't know how Bazel handles these Haskell modules, and frankly, I don't know a lot about the Bazel module system in general. So I don't know if test is going to just completely pollute the test namespace, and I suspect that it might. I'm going to start, I guess, I'm not sure the cleanest way to do this. Do I want to start? So I have two options. One is I can start with what I have here and remove the stuff that I don't want there. And the other is I can start with a clean slate and copy stuff over as needed. And I guess I'll try the second one. So I need some new file. I'll create a folder here called statements. And I'll create Nikita's recommendation is to create one module essentially per statement, per SQL query. So I have, I think, really only a couple of queries. I have an insert query and I have a select query for each of two types of things. One is jobs, which is going to be essentially a task queue. And the other is articles. So the toy app I'm building is a read it later style app, and you're just going to be able to save bookmarks and then consume that bookmarked content at your leisure. So essentially at this point, I need 4 modules, two for inserts and 2 for select statements. And so I guess this is the first place where that kind of runs against my natural inclination. My natural inclination would be that if you are, as a user who might need to do things with articles, I intuitively want to be able to get articles and set articles essentially from the same module. So we'll call one select articles by ID. So we'll have select articles by ID.hs rather. And we will have, so that'll be this one. And why don't we just grab this? I'm going to replace that, but we'll use it for now. Actually, let's not delete it from here. And what else? We have this function that takes an article ID, selects the article from the database. How is this different? This is a statement, and this is, I guess, a function that uses the statement. So this layer here is doing printing, which is why it returns an IO. Or I called it a layer, but at this point it's a function. But the other thing it's doing, I think, is probably converting whatever article I had to a proto somewhere. So here's where the statement is used, the get article statement. And we've got the session here. And I guess we're not converting it to a proto at all. So scratch that. We've also got this write article statement. So I'll create a new module for this. I'll call it insert article. Do I want to do insert article or insert articles? I guess at the, as you're adding articles, most commonly you'll probably do it one at a time. So I'll try the singular. And I will have, I'll have a better module name for it. So I probably like lector db, lector backend .db insert article. And then this one will have a similar module name. Articles by ID. Okay, so those are the article ones. And maybe just for boundedness, I could stop there. But I'm going to press on. So somewhere there should be job stuff. And we have this insert job something or other. So I'll call this insert job. Maybe just insert job. And I will have select job by what? Probably by ID. So here's the write job proto to DB, and get job from proto takes what? This is just selecting all of the jobs. But I guess I probably want to select it by ID. Okay, so I have the 4 files. They're all empty. The next thing I want to mention is that, at least for the jobs, I guess also for the articles, the way that my app is going to reason about jobs and articles in general is going to be, they will be in the protocol buffer format. So in protocol buffers, we have a compiler, proto compiler, that's going to generate Haskell code at compile time, and that code will be used to access the job proto and the article proto. There's a little bit of a unusualness in the sense that I'm using two different proto libraries. One is ProtoLens, which is the library Google developed, and the other is this. I think it's called Proto 3 Suite and Proto 3 Wire, that are developed by another organization that made a gRPC wrapper for Haskell. So the job proto is in ProtoLens format. The article proto is in Proto 3 format. None of that really matters for the database, other than I wanted to say that I would like the, anyone working on the app to not have to really think about the database structure, the format of these things on disk at all. And I'd like that when they ask for a proto, or rather when they ask for a job or an article, they get back a proto. So to be consistent with what Nikita is recommending, I'm going to do that as another layer of converters, essentially on top of the database operations. How exactly that will work, I don't know. I'm going to kind of leave that open until I get all of the database stuff worked out, and I think that'll be that. Okay. So now I'm in a position to start moving the statements over. So let's see what we have. Actually, before I move statements over, I am going to need to create a build file. So in this statements directory, I'll create a build file. And let me just have the directory open here so I know what the things are. And then the other thing I'll have open here is just a working build file, so I can copy all of the relevant stuff. So obviously, if you're using Cabal, you won't have a Bazel build file like this. So I'm going to consider these all libraries. I think that under the hood, the current version of Rules Haskell treats a library as a package. I would like it to treat it. I would like all of these to be modules as opposed to packages. But I can't do anything about that now. At some point, I'll probably rewrite Rules Haskell. I know that they have some experimental support for a Haskell module, but I'm not. Last time I tried it, it didn't work the way that I wanted it to. Okay, so for each of these, I'm not really sure what the depths are going to be. Certainly, we're going to depend on Haskell. Maybe I'll just leave them blank for now. So we need 4 of them. And I like to name them lowercase. So that's what I'm going to do. So we have insert article, insert job. Select articles by ID. And select job. Really, the articles and the job should be next to each other. Let's bring job down here. And all of this SQL.hs stuff has to go. So it should be insert article. Select articles by ID. This is insert job.hs, and this is select job by ID.hs. And if I try to compile, it should fail. Could not load module prelude. I think that's because I need to import base for all of these. Which seems like it probably shouldn't even be an explicit dep if it's necessary. Is that right? I don't know. Okay, and so all of this stuff is not imported, and that's as I expected. So where is it not imported? I think I just had one file that had anything other than. Yeah, well. Okay, so it's saying that this output wasn't created. I'm not really sure what that error means, but presumably it's because the files have no content, other than saying that it's making a module and then trailing off mid-sentence here. Now let's, I guess let's start with the select articles by ID statement, since that seems slightly simpler than inserting articles. Okay, so to select articles, we need some stuff. So Nikita recommended grabbing this SQL and storing it as a variable. Okay, and then in Hasql, you have this statement, and we have this statement, and the statement has an encoder and a decoder. The encoder, I guess, is a tuple of a single int32, and it's going to return a list of int32s. I'm not sure why I made it return int32s, but maybe it's just returning the IDs. I don't know. I don't really remember what I did. Okay, but at any rate, Nikita recommends having the encoder and decoder declared as variables here. And I think that maybe I can just grab this. And likewise, decoder. And then the statement, which we can now just call statement because it has its own namespace. Can just be encoder, decoder. Now, I don't know if this is syntactically correct. I'm copying this bit from my notes. I don't know if encoders params is supposed to be um, um, the actual param type, or if it's supposed to be the like the in32 or whatever. But we'll try this. And obviously we need to import some stuff. And is that all I needed? So I've got the statement. I need a session and some other stuff. So is there anything else I need? I need a session and like a connection. So I'll pop that in here. And if I had a transaction, the transaction would go here too. So let's open up the working, the working SQL integration test where I had my session stuff. So I defined the session here. I called session statement on the statement. So I need a session. I think that a session is just as the session statement stuff, right? So we have this session, and I guess this should be a thing that returns type session. And I'm not sure really how to do that, but I think that really all I need to do is call session.statement on, so I guess it'll take some params. And I think maybe actually the params of the, I guess, in32 tuple thing. And it'll return a session, perhaps. A session of the in32. And I'll just say session is equal to, we're going to call session statement on the statement. It's just called statement now. And I guess that's it, right? Because whatever I pass in here will get passed to session dot statement. So I think that's how the types work, but I'm not sure. We will try compiling it. But before we compile, we must do two things. We must import some statements. We must import all of the Hasql stuff, including session and statement. And what else we need? We need the encoders and decoders. We don't need connection yet. I don't know if we need word. We have int32. I don't remember in Haskell if that's something that is built in or if it's in some library. So we will look at first of all, let's get this white space issue solved. All right, and now we need to add to our dependencies. And to do that, we will copy from the working file. So where's encoders? I guess they're all just in Hasql. Let's just add the Hasql dependency everywhere. I could have done that with a macro or copy or a find and replace, but that's fine. Not everything has to be fancy. Okay. Not surprisingly, this did not build. So we don't have a constructor for int32. But why not? And is that the only thing that's failing? It doesn't like statement. Ambiguous occurrence statement. It could refer to session.statement or this statement. Do I have to do What is it? Qualified import? What does qualified mean in import qualified? Makes the imported entities available only in qualified form. Yeah, I think that's basically always what I want. What is it? Qualified here. Let's just try just that one. And then need to figure out where int32 comes from. Data int, perhaps? Is that part of base? Okay, I need text. Why didn't you tell me this before? Did I just miss these? I wonder why it didn't tell me that I needed text and I guess just text before. I don't know if the compiler didn't know or if I just missed those messages. So I assume this is just data.text. I don't know if it's its own import statement. It seems to be. What are the chances it's just called text? Okay, so I'm getting an error about session again. Not in scope. Type constructor or class session. Perhaps you mean session.session. I guess I do. So if I don't import this as, then what do I get? Okay, so this is perhaps overloaded strings. Is that what I need to get a literal text thing? Okay, so this seems to be a real problem. It's trying to match statement int32 to list of int32. And the actual type is bool to statement AB. Probable cause. Statement is applied to too few arguments. Okay. I don't even know what that boolean is doing there. So let's look at where I know things work, which is what, this integration test file. So I apply session.statement to the article ID after calling from integral, I guess to get it into perhaps a word 32 on the get article statement. And where is the get article statement? Did I delete it? Oh, I already had that on. Okay, so the get article statement here, it does have this Boolean at the end. And we have the encoder and decoder. Oh, you know what? I'm missing the call to the SQL. I didn't tell it what statement was it executing. So this is some byte string error, which I think is probably resolved by importing more stuff. So maybe I could try importing byte string and having the SQL statement be a byte string instead of text. So if I go to here, I forgot to call it byte string. Okay, so it seems to like it being a byte string. And now I'm getting couldn't match type int32 to session list int32 with actual type session list int32. And I guess that's because this is not a thing that takes in a, is that right? Does it want that? So I guess I'm going to have to pass the int32 to the statement or something along those lines. Let's check what I do in the here. Right. So before, how about session of ID? I don't know why it's a single tuple, but I think that's right. And I'm not really sure if I need to call from integral, but we'll try doing that. I think I'm not sure if that's supposed to be there. Not that. Not that. Yeah, I'm not sure why I had these parentheses there. Maybe I copied them from another line that had an empty tuple. Okay, so it seemed to like that, except the other files were not built. So let's just try commenting out those other build file thingies, build targets rather. Okay, it still doesn't like that it wasn't, so it still doesn't create the thing. Now, why would that be? So I was thinking or talking earlier about, how should I name my modules? And I guess we don't name them like that. Maybe we just name them like this. Yeah. Okay. So that was the problem. I don't know why that was the problem, but that's how things are. I kind of like this a little bit better, but who am I? Who am I to judge? I feel like in C++, we still used the full like disk path, the way that these modules are the way I initially named the modules. Okay. So just for fun, now that we have successfully built something, let's see if the other things build or if you still get an error. Okay. Okay, so let's do the same. Let's give the same treatment to the remainder of the statements here. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and grab all this. So the statement types and everything will change, and we'll do one at a time. Okay, select job by ID. So the jobs are the ones that are stored in the database as protos. And in fact, let's not do that one. Let's do the other article one. So that's the article. I guess let's do what is it? Insert article. Let's do insert article. So here, we'll grab this SQL statement. The encoder and decoder params have changed. The encoder is byte string. I don't know if we need a parentheses or not. And there is no decoder because there's no result. And we just grab the decoder's no result. And then this, I guess, changes to byte string empty or unit type or empty tuple, whatever we call that. And here we say false. I don't quite remember what the return type is. I mean, what the Boolean is. A flag determining whether it should be prepared, a prepared statement. I guess there's no downside to preparing it, really, is there? Guess let's just have it be prepared. And then the session type needs to change. We are taking a byte string as opposed to an ID, and we're returning nothing. I'm going to guess this needs to be session of empty tuple. And here I called encode message on the job. And I think job I passed in as a proto. So perhaps rather than doing that, I should have this just take a byte, a byte string. Something along these lines. Of course, I will need to import things. I don't need the int anymore. I don't think I need text in either. Not even sure I need overloaded strings, but I guess I don't have that anymore. This other stuff looks like I need. Okay, so let's head over to the build file. We can get rid of text. We just have to add byte string, I guess, to the insert article. Although, these should be in alphabetical order. Do I still have compilation window open? Yeah. Where am I importing data.txt? Oh, I was modifying the code I had pasted in from one file. Okay. So I do need overloaded strings. It had disappeared because I was looking in the wrong file. That makes sense? Okay, so that compiles as well. Let's just go ahead and set things up for the job ones. We'll start with select job by ID. At this point, it should be relatively straightforward, I would guess. So where's my job statement here? Here we are. And the encoders and decoders have changed. I'll just grab this as one unit. We're no longer dealing with int32. Instead, we're taking an empty thingamajig and returning a byte string. We'll still need overloaded strings because we have this SQL statement as a literal and we want it to be interpreted as a byte string. So here statement, I guess we'll need what? Empty to byte string. And this will need nothing. I don't know if I have to put the empty tuple here. I'm going to guess I do. And then in the build file, we'll need the same stuff. That's insert job. Whoa now. And I guess since we already uncommented, since we already since we already uncommented insert job, let's just implement that one as well. I'm sure there must be a nice, or maybe I'm not sure, but I would bet that there's a relatively nice refactoring tool for Haskell, but I don't know what it is or is called or looks like. Okay, so to insert job, we need a SQL statement. It's right here. And we've got encoders and decoders. I guess decoder stays the same. Wait, did I just do? No, it's the same because I copied the other insert statement. Okay, you can cut that. Okay. So job bytes is good. What did I do wrong here? This is wrong. I implemented job twice. So the right article statement takes in an article. But what is an article? I guess in the test, I'm just writing the URL, which so it takes a string essentially. So decoder stays the same. And then we have encoder says text. So maybe it is text. And result is empty. I don't know why it's, maybe I should do byte string. Is there any harm? I don't really know what the difference between text and byte string is. I guess we'll try it this way. And if there are problems, then I'll deal with them later. Oh, this is byte EA. I will stick with text. Okay, and so here we have just the URL. And so I think this should compile. I might have forgotten something but the easiest way to tell whether I've forgotten something is just to try compiling it at this point. Okay, so I haven't imported text. And insert article, I'll have to do text. Is it data text? I don't remember. Let's try it. And then here, select job by ID. I have some equation for session have one argument, but its type session dot session int 32 has none. Okay, so this is just, I didn't need that ID there. So this is not supposed to be int 32, right? We're going to select the job, so we don't want an ID back. Although we should wait a minute. Oh, I see. I called this select job by ID, but really this is selecting all jobs. So let's, I guess, just in the interest of honesty here, let's call this select all jobs. And in the insert of also honesty, let's change insert article to, how about insert article URL? And then we'll have to rename the files and also the Bazel build targets. I know I still have missed something, but I forget what it was. Okay, so first of all, it doesn't like that I changed something, but I didn't. I guess well, select all jobs, and then here instead of insert article, this should be insert article URL. Could not match type text with byte string. Okay, so that at least all compiled. The next question is, can I call these functions? Okay, so that comment was left over from when I was implementing these functions. It was just sort of a note to self for, I had never used ProtoLens before, and I had never used Hasql before. So just kind of thinking through what might work, etc. This write proto2db, we can now, I guess we can leave it. I think all of these comments are outdated. We might be able to reuse some of these things, but the statements need to go. I need to do something about establishing the database connection. I guess what I can do is I can establish a single connection and then pass it to these things. Or there's probably a way to do. Certainly, I can do. I can do everything in a transaction. Is that worth doing? Not sure that it matters, but there might be something like a monadic environment for doing databasey stuff other than the transaction. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll check it out. Okay, so that's fine. We'll get rid of this ID statement. Get rid of the comment here at least. Get rid of this get article statement. And then everything that is left, I guess, will be just the functions that take in the the data structures, the domain models essentially of articles and jobs, and that do the I/O. We will need to import. So I don't know how it wants me to do imports now, because it wouldn't let me name my modules with the full path name. I don't know if it wants me to do that for here. So I could try doing import lector at backend dot db insert article URL. Let's try that. And then I'll just comment everything else to see if it compiles. Oops. Okay, so it doesn't like this. Can I do import statements? Okay, so it builds correctly, and then the tests and the integration test fail. So it does really seem like whatever it does really seem like whatever I name my module, it is going to it's not going to like prepend the folders before it in the import statement. I'm sure that rules Haskell gives some way to like maybe in the build target say that you want you want to have a certain module name, but that's uh, I find that really awkward. So I guess what I want to do is I'll leave this as is with just this kind of global namespace import set up, and I'll have to fix it up later when I rewrite part of or much of rules Haskell. Okay, so now I need to import the rest of the files. So you insert job, select all jobs, and select articles by ID. Cool. And we need to add them here. Okay, I made a typo in my build target. Select articles. Select articles, not select article. Okay, and so this test fails, but it builds. So the compilation works. Just the test is failing because I told the test to always fail. Now, let's get the tests to pass. So first of all, if we have nothing here, I want to exit success. So that's this mechanism. It's not clear in Bazel how to omit an integration test if you're working in an environment that doesn't have something you need for the integration test. So I just have this environmental variable that I'm using so that tests pass on the development machine where the integration environment's not set up, but they run the test properly on the CI system. Okay, so let's uncomment. Now nothing should really work as is. I guess I should import these all qualified. And maybe we'll just stick to one of them for now. How about get article data, maybe? Okay, so get article data, we're going to get this connection. And if it's a proper connection, then we are good to go. If it's not proper, then everything fails. And so on and so forth. But what is my, so my session is going to be select articles by ID. So I'll just call select articles by ID dot session on this ID, and then run the result. And maybe that compiles. It does not compile. Unexpected do block in function application. Is this because is it indenting or something else? Variable not in scope. Write job proto statement. Okay, so I missed a part where I called some old stuff. Oh, I guess I need to recomment out some stuff. Okay, it builds, but does it test? Oh, you know what? I exit failure. What if I don't exit failure? Okay, then the test passed. But do I print anything out? I don't know. Maybe we just don't have any data. All right, well, let's try write article data. And here we have this URL. We're just going to take the, article that's in this proto and set its URL to, what is it? Oh no, we're going to extract the URL from the proto, and then down here, I guess we call insert article URL dot session on the URL, and we don't need this statement here. And let's see if that goes. So tests passed. We wrote a proto. Let's just we wrote a proto, but really we just wrote a URL. Okay. All right, now what should we do? Let's do get job proto from database. And here we take this session and what was it called? Select all jobs, something like that. And that session. Is that all? Okay. And these jobs, hang on, these look like URLs. Does the job have, no, I think these are jobs. Let's check the job proto. It's been a few months since I worked on this project, so I don't quite remember how everything looks. Yeah, okay. So the job has a URL, so that's good. And then what else is left to do? Write job proto to DB. And here we just take this insert job dot session, and we will call encode message job, and we don't need this statement. Parse error. I forgot something, but I'm not sure what yet. So this is parse error on input. Oh, it's because I had accidentally indented it. Okay, so all the tests passed. That is great. And I guess I want to see now how to get rid of some of this glue code. Or I don't even know if you would call it glue code, but this code around every test gets the database connection. I think that's actually probably fine. I would like these to be able to run in parallel. So I don't think I want to put them all in a transaction, or really even in a monadic environment, unless they can all run in parallel. But maybe what I'll do is I'll just grab the database connection in the main function and pass it to each of these functions. I don't think I see an issue with doing that. So I'll say, we'll acquire this connection and make sure that our things line up. So right now I'm not using a testing framework. So maybe instead of working too hard to figure out the right way of running these in parallel, which is probably not too hard, but I might have to pick an async service to do that. Maybe I'll just in a future video port this over to a testing framework that will presumably take care of all that for me. So I guess I don't really care at this point whether these execute in sequence. I just eventually want to make sure that there are no order or dependency effects, and as I accumulate more tests, I want to make sure that the tests in general run in parallel, just for performance reasons. Okay, so I can grab this connection. We have this case statement, and if we have a connection, we'll just pass it to all of these things as a second argument, or really, I guess let's just do the first argument. Is that what I want? I don't know if it matters. But at least if I make it the first argument, then in theory I could query these things if I wanted. Okay. And then we have this connection error thing. And if we get the connection error, we're going to exit failure so that the Bazel knows to fail the tests. What? I don't know if it's just this Emacs thing, but it would be nicer if this would all line up more easily. And I guess I need to release the connection at some point. So let's just try it with one of these so far. Oh, well, con is not a con is not a type. What am I thinking? Come on, come on. Connection. Okay, it seemed to like that okay. So let's continue to continue doing the same thing. Maybe the thing to do is just multiple cursors. How many spaces in do notation? I don't know. Is it 2? What do I do up here? I guess 2 is what I do. Okay, that looks more or less correct. Oh, except I have to make sure that we have a connection thing here, and we're passing in con. And then here, we're also going to pass in connection, and we're going to pass in con, and get rid of this stuff. And the same for write article data. And I forgot to give write article data a connection. Okay. So that's good. That's certainly much cleaner than it was before, except I thought all of that was working, but it's not actually actually running some of those tests. So let's uncomment those lines. Okay. So far so good. Is there anything else that I want to do before I call it a day? Well, I think this is mostly good. I at this stage I'm still this is a file, the SQL integration test, that knows both about database and about the like the domain models, the proto files that the rest of my app will deal with. If you're used to using something like um, an ORM library, then I think the model there is that your app never thinks about the database at all. So there's another layer that hides everything about the database and just deals with the domain models. However, and so that would be a good place to get to. However, at this point, it's not necessary to do that as part of this same refactoring. And really, come to think of it, it's not really that necessary at all. Hiding the database may at some point be a virtue, but it's not clear that it is at this stage. And I'm reluctant to over optimize.